Hey everybody, welcome in for another episode of the Power Hour. We got a super special guest, Patty Herrera. She's joining us and going to show us just a little bit about how you can actually run a team in more than one state. Come back in right after this. Everybody give a warm welcome to Patty. Patty, thank you so much for jumping on with us today.
Hey, thank you for having me. What a snazzy intro video. I like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was actually Krem. He put all that together and helped me build this out because everything's a learning curve, right? You got to learn how to do this and do that, and same thing with this.
More and more technology.
All the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Constant learning. Hey, that's real estate business for you.
All the time. And so I'm excited for this because it's something where I feel like even for myself, like I have to unlock my mind and the capabilities through EXP, what we can do and where we can go. And just to give everyone a little bit of an intro, would you talk about a little bit about your business and your multiple businesses and how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. Really, I've been in real estate for 25 years, 24 years before I came to EXP. And I had a team, was already a top producer, already owned my own company, have a brick and mortar. And I was like, why go to EXP? It was not something that I was interested in at all. About the third person that came and talked to me, the approach was different. It was a lot of heart and collaboration and not just like kind of a recruiting, but a partnership. It was fabulous. And so I came aboard and I haven't looked back. I have so appreciated the collaboration, the ideas, the coaching, the training from everyone. And I think that has really helped me in my business because I was kind of on, you learn and you do, and you learn and you do, and you don't really look at the bigger picture because you're engrossed in, the everyday, the day to day. And so it's really helped me to kind of think outside of the box a little more. I've always kind of been that type, but, I know there's one or two things that you can think of, but when you talk to other people that are willing to give you their ideas, and you have so many of them in one big, one area, one space, your tribe, you come up with so many other things. So basically I have a team in Fayetteville, North Carolina area. And then I also have a small team that I'm growing in Naples, Florida. And right now I'm kind of restructuring little by little as I'm learning different ways of doing things other than what my 24 years has, shown me. Because before I came, it was kind of like, these are my ideas. I've worked on them. Like, leave me alone. I've got my space. You've got yours. So it's really great, and it's freeing to be around other people where their mindset is very similar and the drive is similar, and there's communication and collaboration. So I've really enjoyed that. So basically I have two teams, and I'm hoping to kind of branch out. And I think through the structure that we have at EXP, it is really allowing me more opportunities than to just my licensed areas. So I'm hoping Texas is going to be next. So we'll see what happens there.
Absolutely. And for the agents tuning in, so you live up north, right? You don't live down here with me.
So I have two homes. Well, let me take that back. I have one home that I own in North Carolina, and that's kind of our hub. And that is where my primary business got started and where I've been in real estate most of my life. In Naples, we have a home that we rent because, of course, we were waiting till the market comes down a little bit for buyers, and it's actually easier for you to get a home. But we want to build. We're kind of looking at different areas there and seeing where we want to be on the water. Do we want to be gated, non-gated? So many things to think about. So we kind of go back and forth. And sometimes it's tough. It's not all, glam doing the team things. It's hard work, but I really enjoy it. And so, so I have a place in Naples and a place in North Carolina.
That's incredible. So for the members of your team, and I guess regardless of where you are, you're obviously supporting them through coaching and bringing them up. But, what are the different aspects of your team model? Like, what are the values that you see as being a team leader?
Yeah. So, I do things a little different because I know, a lot of firms will just, or teams will say, okay, they want agents that are experienced, and who doesn't, right?
Yep.
But I almost prefer to have newer agents where you can train them from the bottom up. Sometimes I like if they've been to a company and, it didn't go so well and then they come, but they haven't learned that much. They've only been there a month or two, right? Because then they appreciate it more.
Yep.
The opportunities that are provided, because sometimes you get them brand new and you're setting this expectation that everybody does that. So, and it's not, I know the value, but they don't so much until they hear from everybody else they didn't get it. But, bring them in. I do a new agent boot camp where I take them from A to Z, because let's face it, the real estate class doesn't teach you real estate. So no. I teach them, how do you do a CMA? How do you role play, about the contracts and the addendums and how to get leads. And I always tell them, I have leads that I also provide, but they are the icing on the cake. Like, I'm going to teach you to fish. I'm not going to give you the fish. So that is kind of like how our team is. And I really like to have kind of that family community vibe within the team. So you have to be a little more picky as far as like, okay, who comes into the team? Will they all get along? Are we all looking to grow the team and within the team? And so that's some of the things that I have definitely learned, because not everybody is for a team.
No. And you hit it on the head there, like the culture. So like our group, it started not too long ago, but it hit me at home because our whole unit's kind of like a family. Like the way that we interact with each other. I mean, we all work in an open space and we're constantly bouncing things back and forth off each other. And it's made me a lot sharper. It's made my focus sharper. And it's also it's nice to be accountable to the fact of, okay, this is how the call goes, and put it on speakerphone in front of everybody.
Absolutely. And you know what? Just like you said, humility is a big thing. There's some agents that they've been in the business a year and they know it all. Don't tell them anything. And then there's like, I've been in the business 25 years and I'm learning something every day, so it's about continually learning and updating on things that, but times change, technology changes, as we know we're now using, StreamYard that didn't exist before. And I'm going to show my age a little bit by saying, when I first got in real estate, the MLS was in a book and we had to look through the book. And, there weren't, the IDX feeds that, led into the websites. And we really didn't have a website back then. It was open house, door knock, things like that. So it's come a long way.
Heck yeah. So what did that, so can you and I don't want to but I need to know. So what did that look like? Okay. I got a customer and we're going to shoot. They want to see 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes tomorrow. What would I have done to get those MLS sheets?
Oh, to get the MLS. Oh, well, if you didn't have a book, you didn't get them. So you had to pay for the book every month, or it didn't exist. And it was only monthly. So if something new came on the market, you really didn't know it till the new book comes out, or you saw a sign. But you know what? I liked it better because it's when buyers and sellers, they needed an agent. They couldn't just go out and find these homes on the internet, and just go out and, do things. You had to look for an open house, which means the newspaper. You had to look for the signs, kind of like the yard sale signs. Are they having an open house today? It was on the weekend thing.
Yep.
And then they had to meet you at your office because if they wanted to see what homes are available, you looked through a book and you sat there and said, okay, let's look through this book and see what you're interested in. And that's how it worked. And, I liked it better because there was a lot more office appointments than now they look on the internet and then they may show up, they may not show up. And, they may talk to 10 different agents or they may be talking to me, you just don't know. So definitely different.
Simpler. It sounds like.
It was. I mean, it's a lot easier, I think, now to market your properties and get a buyer. But, it was a lot easier to, I guess, get a buyer to sit down with you and you have that conversation and you get that rapport. And it was more of relationship based than sometimes it is today.
So. That's and I'm actually I'm assuming that you yourself and also the agents you train them appointment first, right? Before you go out and see the houses.
Absolutely. We try to. Some people fight it, but it doesn't always happen. But it's always kind of, okay, did they speak to a lender? Have they been working with another, are they with another agent? Have they signed anything? Because we don't want to be unethical. Yep. And just kind of getting a feel for what they're looking for and when. And then getting that appointment. And if they're first-time home buyers, we get a first-time home buyer consult where we sit down with them and go over everything so they know from A to Z what to expect. And I think what's super important in the market right now as the seller's market is, do you have money to pay your closing costs? Do you have money for the good faith money that you're going to have to provide, depending on the state, whatever you call it, and make sure they have that, because if not, it's a whole different world and a new ball game, and you have to think of different strategies because it's with the seller's market, they're not paying closing costs, warranties, they're not paying anything right now. So you definitely have to have that consult with your buyers to find out what their needs are before you're just out showing homes and then you can't help them because there's going to be 20 offers on it and they don't have money for closing costs, and you should have known that before you got started.
Even pushing that a little further, the ideology of how you win, right? Like the market's so competitive right now that we have to talk about low or even no, like no right to cancel, right? Like waive your right to cancel and you can still inspect, and there's different ways you can balance that with the 4-point and other terms, but like them knowing your ideology, how you're going to escalation addendums, backup contracts, the whole thing up front, it one shows our value. And two, it prepares them. Like I tell them outright, if I just go out and show you the first house, I'm kind of sending you to battle without a gun. Like that's how rough it is out there if you just go start seeing properties. Because I mean, there's a couple of times where one of the agents has shown a house prior to the meeting, and then they get done, house is 200,000. Yeah, I want to offer them 190. It's been on the market for 2 days, and we're like, what?
Yeah,
they don't know.
And so often do agents go out and they look on the MLS and then they pick 5 homes or whatever it is to show their client, and they just go show. And they're like, their client falls in love with 123 Main Street, and you do the offer, they do the offer, and they turn it in just to find out it's already has an offer on it. And they're waiting for a final initial or something, and that's why it didn't go pending yet. We teach them, you need to call first or text the agent, because a lot of people don't want to pick up the phone anymore. So you text the agent, is it still available? Are there any appraisals done on it in the past? Any inspections done on it in the past? Is there anything that you would like to disclose to me at this time? And just kind of training them what to do on a phone conversation. It's not necessarily just on buyer conversations or seller conversations, but also with other agents. And what they need to say and what they need to do. And there's just so much training that you can do with these agents that I feel like a lot of times that's why people don't take on new agents. They don't want to put in the time.
And the flip side of that is, I mean, I don't know the exact statistic, but it's something like 80% fail their first year and end up going back to the job they were doing prior. That's why. I mean, there's a lot of brokerages out there that have tremendous, like, you pay per transaction, you get 100% of your commission, but with a model like that, the problem is that there's no revenue for support. Like there's no revenue for training. There's nothing in between there. And that's one of the biggest problems that, sorry, that EXP solved
Yeah.
is I mean, how much training is there a week? There's like 100 hours of training every single week, and you can pick which ones of it make the most sense for you and what you're doing. But on top of that, you have all of us. Like we're sitting here on this meeting right here, kind of talking strategy, and then I mean the Monday meetings. I mean, there's probably $1 billion a year in sales in that Monday meeting, and everyone's just like down to the core, real with each other.
And I tell everybody too, the people that I sponsor, I also coach. And so when I coach them, I'm always telling them, so they wouldn't be a member of my team. I just sponsor them in different states. And of course they get their mentor. But as far as coaching is concerned, I let them know, okay, there's this training with EXP. Then there's this training with like our partnerships, our tribe, but don't get lost. You can get lost in just training and you're going to be broke in 3 months and out of the business. So you really need to do actionable items that are going to be money makers at the same time you're training and time blocked so that you're able to do both. Because I feel like while you're learning, you can be getting your business cards ready, getting your sphere of influence, writing a letter to your sphere of influence on being in the business, just getting the word out there, starting on your social media. So much you can do to go ahead and get started on all those things that are going to feed you instead of waiting until after the training. Yep. So many agents decide, got my license, I'm going to go take my 90 hours or whatever hours on your state of post-licensing, and that takes them 2-3 months. And then they're like, I'm broke. What do I do? And it's like, well, but start with the actionable items at the same time. And I feel like between that, lack of training, because with training, with education comes the confidence. And then people look at a lot of shows on TV and real estate looks glamorous. The fun part is showing the home or doing these shows. But that's not all there is to it. They don't want to make those calls for 2 or 3 hours a day. They're cold calls, and we call them cold calls, or you could call them warm calls. They've been to our website or whatever. They don't want to cold call the for sale by owners. They don't want to do the things that it takes that top producers are doing. And if you don't, somebody else is going to eat your lunch. It's not a simple business where you're just in it to make money. It's about relationships. It's about consistency. It's about follow-up. It's about all of that, not just, I've heard a lot of people say, I'm going to put my new team name or my new name and colors and all that stuff, and that I'm on real estate on my social media and they will come. And I'm like, no, they will not come. No, that's not going to happen. So yeah, I'm sure you've heard that.
I have, and you hit, so I'm wearing these headphones right now, and you hit me with a story that really comes true with that, right? Is that we all want to make it perfect, and we want to, we're like, it's honestly like perfection is just an excuse not to do something. You're just striving to get somewhere that we're never truly going to get. And these headphones, I got them because I came into real estate right as my son was born, crying a lot, lots of noises, and working from home. And these ones, they cancel out noise tremendously. And so I got these headphones, I've got them on. One day he strumbles in, I'm having a really tough prospecting call. And like, she's at least communicating, but it was very cold and like, just wasn't one of those where you just don't think you're going to get anywhere. I swear to God, he comes up and he starts yapping right in front of me. She's like, oh, you got a little one? So the thing that I was doing to try to help myself was actually stopping me from building rapport with people, because we're real people. Like I'm working here, I'm working from home every single day. My team comes and works with me from home. Mm-hmm. There's no shame in anything that we do. Just be humble, be yourself, and don't be afraid to go out there. Because if you're out there and you're in the grease, you are going to meet people and you're going to influence people to work with you because you're going to help them through their situation.
Yep. Like we say, commitments, not excuses. because there's so many excuses you can use, and not, like you said, not to do something. And like Veronica says, you're not so good of something is better than somebody else's perfect nothing, right?
Yep.
So, and it's so true, because I can be a little like that sometimes, especially with my videos. So, but I had to put that to the side and say, you know what, just do it. Just do it. So yeah, it's getting better, but yeah, I mean, honestly, like running a team in multiple states, is difficult, and it is not for the faint at heart. It is definitely for somebody that's looking to build something that has value to add and wants to add it to people. And that, in multiple states, that you're not going to mind traveling, because you're going to have to go back and forth. As the team or your business needs something, you have to provide that need if there's no one else there to do it. So like I had lost a key person, and so I had to come back here for 6 weeks and hire and then train and things like that. So it's always something happening within the team, and you are that team leader. You are the one that has to put out that fire whenever that may happen, convenient or not. So, multiple states is different. Yes, there's Zoom, love Zoom and everything, but it doesn't help you with, create that relationship that you really need to have as part of the team and really, function well. So, yeah, so that's why I'm in North Carolina right now. So
You're striving. What drives you? Like what gives you that passion to do this? Because running a team just here locally and it's small, I'm like, it's a huge lift. Now you're running back and forth and you're running in 2 locations. There's got to be a major passion inside of there to do this.
yeah, I mean, I will say there's always, first of all, I like to be busy. I'm kind of a workaholic, and it's tough for me. Like everybody's like, wow, you're like, actually, I had an interview with an agent yesterday, a newer agent. She said, when I got your letter, that you were hiring, I was surprised you answered the phone, because I know you're like a busy agent. And I'm like, I live on my phone. It's either texting or messaging. And it's like that, because I hate for a message to sit there. And it's just habits that I've created over the years. Especially when I started on for sale by owners. So I was constantly, and I got them after a while because of follow-up. So I was constantly on my phone and answering, because if you're not answering, somebody else is going to answer. And so that created that drive. And honestly, I used to work for a telemarketing company before I ever started real estate when I was younger. And I really think that helped me.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you got so many no's and hangups and all these things that you were just like, when nowadays it hurts people's feelings, and you have to just kind of get a backbone and like, okay, that's just one. I got to call 100 more. So, that one, no big deal. But yeah, I think the drive, I've just been a driven person, and, my family is driven, and I want things. And I think the only way to do it is, and I'm good at, real estate, because that's what I know. That's where I've put my time into for all these years. So I feel like I do have a value to provide to, especially a lot of new agents and agents that are looking to grow. So my whole goal is to help people. And sometimes it can be discouraging, because some people don't appreciate it, or, they use you for the training and then end up leaving, and you're like, you put all this time and effort. So it can be, a real time suck, and it can be a real, discouragement. But, all in all, when you get that, it's kind of like when you work with buyers, when you get the ones that do appreciate it, you get the ones that are the right team members. That's what kind of makes it all worth it. So yeah.
Absolutely. And, there was a video. Did you go to the Cabo Mastermind?
I
Me
did
neither.
not. No.
There's one on there where he was a team leader, and he basically had quit. Like he was just so tired of building up what he said was, I was literally creating my own competition. I was creating the best agents in the marketplace, And then all of a sudden they were my competitor, and I was doing it over and over and over. And he had quit until he heard about this model, because that is the beautiful thing about it, is that if somebody is going to get to a point where their production warrants them to leave, we're going to help them leave. We're
Mhm.
going to make sure they get started where they need to get started, and they're branded, and they have the tools that they need to go on with the next phase of their journey. And that's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing that didn't exist prior to EXP.
I know, because before you didn't want them to grow, you wanted them to stay right there because they were yours, you know? Like, you're
Yeah,
part of my team, stay here, you know, I'm training you to be great, and I want you to be great with me. And with this model, like you said, if they want to create their own team, let me help you. Let me
yes,
help you create your team. Let me show you how to do your own team. Because when you win, I win. You know, we're
all
doing
the
this
way through.
together. Yeah.
All the way through. It's the most beautiful thing, because it makes it, we all want to come from the heart, right? But then you have the business and you have the heart. And like, that's the one thing where when I really understood this model, it's like, why? Like, it doesn't even make sense, like, to be anywhere else. You're completely aligned with every part of your business.
Yeah. And that's why I came over. Because like I said, I was making 100% of 100%. I didn't need to give up any commission. I didn't need any training. I was already a top producer in my area. I didn't need anything from EXP, so to speak, or what I thought. Um, but then when I spoke with the partnerships and just kind of people like Veronica and Carlos, and you know, I know people that are watching the show probably don't know who they are, but um, basically part of our partnerships, or the sponsorships from within, that you know, maybe you're sponsored by and I'm sponsored by, we all talk, and we have this Facebook group, and we have additional training and coaching, and we're getting all these things free. And I started, okay, I get coaching for $1,200 a month, calculate that, and then realize I'm getting coaching from these top producers. I'm hearing these ideas that I've never heard of before, you know, because it's all either they were my ideas or I didn't have them, you know,
Yep.
that was it. It was me, myself, and I. So when you get four or five people or whatever in a room, everybody's got their own ideas and how they're doing things. And you're like, oh, wow. Ooh, I didn't think about that. You know, I didn't think about that one. And then you take what you need from each, and then you form your own. And it's powerful. It's really powerful.
Especially the way, the way that everybody is. Like, it's, when I came over, I'm coming from being a buyer's agent with the team. I'm building a brand, I'm building a team. And like, I felt like you no matter what, you walk into the room, you're around giants. Like,
Mhm.
you feel small just by your own ego. But every single time I've ever been around any of them, it's just pure love and embracement. And it's incredible, because it took me from feeling small to feeling equal.
Yeah.
And they do it with everybody that comes into our group. It's absolutely amazing to watch the amount of love that there is in our group.
Yeah. Because like I said, I was a top producer in my area, but that meant, you know, for my area, that meant you sold 80 to 100 homes a year, right? You're a top producer. These people were doing that a month. And I'm like, well, I don't want to bother you. When I first came in, I remember saying, you know, because I learn by just doing, and I ask questions and I grab. And I think that's another part of being driven. And I thought, I don't want to bug you, you know, and all I heard was, you're not bugging. We love it because it shows that you are getting something from it, and you're trainable or coachable, and you want to do things. And those are the people we want to help. And you know, I realized after a while, like, yeah, they're right. They really are there, and you know, they are teaching me things that I didn't know, and it's good to ask questions, because I think there's a lot of people, and I think a lot of people do not make it, whether it's at EXP or any other company, because they don't get connected,
Mhm.
and they don't create the relationships within the business of other agents that can actually be assets to them. And they think they're in it alone, or they're going to bug somebody, so they just don't ask, and then they end up just drowning.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Over
Mhm.
and over. I mean, there's so many things that are in brain, are just drilled into our heads from just the old school mentalities. And it's because it's passed down. We've watched and heard, and the culture. I've only been at one brokerage, and I don't have the experience of a lot of other people, but I watch it. The culture pretty much everywhere is kind of more competitive than it is collaborative. People don't want to give up their marketing secrets. People don't want to talk about the best strategy in order to take a prospect and get them to a closed sale. But and that's sad when I watch it, because since I've come here, even for agents that aren't with EXP, I'm a wide open book, because it's an alignment. Like it's something where even if you don't come over here, I feel as though it makes sense for me to give you every piece of love that I can.
Isn't it freeing?
Yes.
Like I'm like, okay, so I'm a godly person, and I just always felt so selfish, like this is mine. No, I'm not going to share. I worked hard on this, and it was just me, and you have to do you, right? And now I just, like, after I joined the company, I felt like, okay, and it took a little bit to get used to. I mean, I had 24 years of doing this,
Yes.
So it took a little bit to get used to, and little by little, I was like, this feels good, because I'm giving. This feels great. I'm able to give and not just like hold it close to my, my vest there. So, it feels really good. It was really freeing for me, and I actually, really enjoy that part of it.
The culture just goes everywhere that we go, is just the real truth. Whether they're here or not, we can help them. And it's something where it is freeing. It's a great feeling to go into any conversation. And if somebody's got a pain point they're talking to you about, even if you don't know, here's the thing, is that our group is so badass that, like, I don't care what their problem is, right? Like we got someone. It could be the most niche-y thing in the whole world. We got someone.
That's what I always tell everybody too, like that I'm sponsoring. I'm like, look, if you want to form a team, there's somebody for that. If you want to get better at YouTube, there's somebody for that. If you want to look at KV Core, there's somebody for that. You want to do leads, there's somebody for that. I mean, everybody has their different specialties. And I think that's great, that they're willing to share those things, like, and not just a little portion of it, teaser, and then you pay me. They're willing to share their playbook. Hey, I need a listing presentation. Anybody got one? And by the end of the day, you got 3 to 5 to pick from that are all done for you. You just plug in your name, it's great like that. So I like that within our partnerships, they believe in plug and play. Hey, if we've already done it and we can help you save the time, let's do it. Just tell me what you need.
Absolutely. That actually goes back to my power hour picture. That's a dead truth. I like yours above all the ones I've seen. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to use this. So I had that on that screen. I had Canva over here, but like, it's the same thing, is that you took a lot of time to just for that one thing. And instead of me having to invest that time, that's the beauty of sharing those things. That's the beauty of us listing presentation. Same thing you just said. It was Veronica's. We amended it, made it the way that we wanted it, but the bones of it, to put a listing book together.
Yeah. Timely.
Like 100 hours, maybe. Like, I mean, that's a lot of time to put together a whole listing book.
Yeah. It reminds me of kind of a funny story. It wasn't funny at the time, but it's funny now. I don't know how many years ago it was, like 6 or 7 years ago, I'm going to say. I adopted the color hot pink, because there was a guy in a totally different state, way far away. He wasn't like a competitor that you would consider, because we're at 2 different companies, 2 different states, don't know each other, everything's good. And I adopted hot pink. I was like, oh, I really like that. I like the pink and black. So I did the pink and black, and I liked his sign. So I private messaged him, I love your sign. Like, I'm thinking about maybe not exactly, but kind of creating something like this. And I sent him my sign, and he was like, that's great. Do it. After I did it, he actually wrote a letter to me and was mad because he saw me being successful with it. I guess he thought a lot of agents talk and they don't do anything. Well, I did it. And then he got mad. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I even asked permission, didn't even know you. You would have probably never known I would have done it, but that's just who I am, right? I like to be upfront and everything. And I was shocked. I think he even had his attorney send a cease and desist. I'm like, for the color pink? I mean, And I ignored it. And within the next year, he was out of business.
Why
So,
is the envy? Like the envy is so silly. Like, and instead, like we can make all the money in the world and not feel fulfilled. The,
mhm.
you reached out, showed him appreciation. Like you gloated him for building such a nice sign. He gave you permission to do it, and then it helped you succeed. That's fulfillment. Like he should feel
Mhm.
fulfilled instead of envious. That's sad.
Absolutely. So it's so great that, we're not like that. We're like, sure, yeah, do this. If it helps you, great, awesome. So I love that. And I think that's encouraging to everyone. What do they say? Like the best, I can't remember, the best compliment is basically, somebody, copying what you're doing. You know what I
Yep,
mean? Because that means they like it and you're doing something right. That doesn't
exactly
mean
right.
word for word. I mean, you don't want to go and, copy somebody's, get into copyright issues or anything like that. But, that gives you ideas. It gives you inspiration. It gives you, things that you can incorporate and make them your own.
Don't reinvent the wheel. That's number one. That was Jay Kinder taught me that. Jay
Yeah.
Kinder was he has a couple of great stories about one of them is about a script that he didn't follow the script exactly the way he was told to. So he goes back to the person, this isn't working. The script's no good. And then he's like, well, are you following the actual script? And he's like, well, yeah, yeah. And then he's like, okay, walk me through it. Let's do a mock call. And he was missing a really key point in it where it was important. Like he had to polarize the situation. And he's like, then he goes back and the next week he had like quadrupled his appointments. And
Mhm.
that's where Jay became very systemized. And there's a lot that he does that really impresses me. And I appreciate NAEA. And I mean, he's kind of, he was the catalyst for this whole group.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, like you said, don't recreate the wheel. I mean, if somebody's willing to share it and have faith and trust in the process, because if somebody's been using it for 20 years and they're successful, don't go and change it around to, I don't really want to do this or say this and change it and then say, it didn't work for me, because you changed it, use what's working, so that's funny.
That's truth. And it's scary, right? Like I come over here and I'm rebuilding everything. And like I had to make that choice you just said. And I said, listen, James, you're going to follow the process the best that you possibly can. And you're going to trust these people that are all killers. Like it's not like you're trusting somebody completely blindly, but it's still scary. Like you're kind of like, a little infant and they're holding you and they could drop you if their process isn't right. But like for me, I come over here from 6 million last year. And this year, I mean, right now we have 8 million closed and 4 million pending, and we're going to probably break 15 million coming over. I work hard, but that is because of our entire group and answering questions and making sure that I had the nurture and the tools that I needed to succeed and
That is
trust the
awesome.
process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is really awesome. Put in the work, trust the process, and ask questions. I think that's just super important. I mean, I'm asking stuff all the time just to get other ideas. Even if I know, I want to know what you know and what you think so that I can kind of get into your head and figure out, maybe I can add something or tweak something and make it better.
It's like we go so far in our heads with an idea, and then where we get stuck is where the idea finishes. But that's the value of collaborative, like speaking with somebody else, is that all of a sudden that idea that you got to like the eighth development of it gets to like 25 in 10 minutes because that person adds one question in your mind that you couldn't see.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Totally agree. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely, like I said, I'm sure teams are hard work, but but there's so many different ways to do it. Just pick away, because I know like some people do like leads teams where they just get team members and they just kind of like referrals. I'm going to give you these leads and do referral fees. And then some people are 50% and I'm going to train you and I'm going to give you office space, and just, they all work differently. So for those going to join a team, I would say, see how they're running their team and make sure you're in alignment with that. And for those thinking about creating a team, ask questions to those that have a team that's successful that you want to emulate, so that, you can get ideas and start planning the model that you'd like to follow to make that happen. And sometimes it doesn't always work. I mean, I'm always pivoting, I don't know about you, but it's like, okay, that didn't work. Pivot this way. But you have to be careful. Yeah, you have to be careful with that, because sometimes you pivot too soon. You didn't give it enough time to work.
Yep.
So that's super important. But yeah, building teams are not for everyone, for sure.
Yeah, Janine is my office manager, and she was there since the very beginning. And there's been 10 changes that were like, okay, break it. We're going to restart. We're going to rebuild the entire process. And then she's like, oh man, but she kept her chin up the entire time. And we got through it and got to, I mean, right now, the model that we have in place, I believe in wholeheartedly. If somebody is open-minded and anything up to about 12, 13 million, they couldn't reproduce it at the split that they would be if they're a 12, $13 million producer. Like if they paid to do exactly what the team would provide, they'd actually be operating at a loss compared to being on the team.
Yeah. It's interesting because some people, that when they come over to the team, they think, okay, well, I'm getting these leads, I'm being successful, and it's that easy, I'm going to go out on my own.
Yeah.
And then they go out there and they're like, wait a minute, it costs a lot of money to get these leads. And wait a minute, then I got to pay for systems, and then I got to pay for website, and then I've got to pay for, transaction coordinator. And then, oh no, I might need an ISA. And it starts to just really get bigger on them all of a sudden. So, that's why I said it's not that simple, but it can be done. But you have to have a heart for it and a motivation for it, because you can quit very easily because things are not smooth as you're building.
No.
Or having to rebuild, because there's always times, if you have a team, you will at some point have to rebuild it. So yeah, definitely interesting there. I'll have to hear about your team model later on, since you mentioned it. So I love to hear other people, how they run their business. So I can just, like you said, if there's just one thing that I could say, oh, that might go, well, maybe that's how I can tweak this over here, So yeah, we'll have to talk about that later on, about how you run your team.
Absolutely. Well, Patty, I really appreciate this. It's been a lot of fun, and your story is amazing. And I hope you keep kicking ass and it spreads across the entire country, or as far as you want it to go. And yeah, I really appreciate you being here today and joining on.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and absolutely. And that's another quick tip is, everybody's version of success is different. So don't always compare yourself when you're looking online and things like that, because people are letting you see what they want you to see. So don't compare, you do you, and yeah, make it work. So thanks so much for having me, and y'all have a wonderful day.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody.